Okay, there comes Matt.
I haven't seen Matt in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I told you, Matt. Matt was on a mission, weren't you, Matt?
Yes, sir. Thought about dropping out, Dr. Revis, but I came back.
You better not.
Yeah,
Just kidding. Just kidding.
yeah,
No, Matthew.
Hey,
Matthew is kidding. Matt was on a church one night. He was at school, but he was on a church mission the other time. He had sent me a message and told me. How did that go, Matt?
went well, Dr. Stedman. Thank you so much for having patience with me.
Yeah, good. I'm glad it went well. That's important. We have to fit those kinds of things into our lives, even in our busy schedules, because those sometimes they should be a first priority. So that was a good thing. You were at a good place anyway. Let me go ahead and I hope others are going to join us. I don't know that's let me pull up the agenda. Dr. Revis, this is the corrected agenda, and the only thing is I added my name with yours, and then I added another section in there so that I had forgotten to do. But anyway, welcome to week 8, and this is basically the halfway mark, but it really is over the halfway mark because we've got 16 weeks built into the schedule, but that 16th week is really for anybody that you have to talk to at the last minute, and I'm not going to have to do that with any of you because I'm not going to allow it. So we're gonna be where we need to be, and we're gonna be okay. Because at the very end, I want to give that very last class belongs to Dr. Revis, and something that she's going to be sharing with you. I think, Dr. Revis, we said that we would talk about that when we come back after fall break, didn't we?
So I think so.
That's what we're going to do then. I think you're going to do that the week that I'm in New York, and I may be able to join you, but I didn't want to take a chance. But if I do, I won't interrupt. I'll just let you do what you do. But I may just show up to say hello. I'm in New York. How's everybody doing? And I'll see you. I'm going out for a night on the town. But but anyway, it's based on what my son's schedule is going to be like when I get there, and then what my meeting schedules are going to be like. I am a representative for the community college. I'm a voting delegate for the community college. And so, I have no idea what to expect until I get there. So I'll let you know on that.
Well, just make sure that we have this link figured out so we can.
Okay, we will. And
Okay.
you and I will do it ahead of time. And if for some reason we think that it may not work, we'll work it out that you may end up just doing just a private link for that night.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll
All right.
we got some time. We'll do it
Okay.
next
Sounds
week.
good.
But anyway, let's talk about before we go any further, let's just talk about this case study that this was an interesting case study, very interesting case study. And I again, all of you have responded. You responded well. You've met with your teams, but some of your teams are small, and so you're limited. You're limited in some of the broad discussions that you can get. So I wanted to take an opportunity to basically let's kind of hear from each other about some of the key topics, and you know that you all of you've read it. You know the key person is Javier, and at the end of the day, we had to determine. Your job was to determine what and if Javier had done anything wrong, and if he did, how did that relate to school law, school policy? But then you had to think as an administrator, if there is a problem, and my opinion is there is a problem, somebody's got to deal with it. And that the buck stops with the principal with these things. And, um, what would you do based on, based on what you have learned and what you know? So I want to talk about that. Um, and assuming everybody remembers the case study, let's just go on with question number one, where it says, after there was an investigation. I don't want your opinions. I want what action will you take based on what you know? What action will you take? You're the principal. You're in charge. What action are you going to take?
Dr. Seven, my first action would be to go ahead and get HR personnel involved. I have the evidence, I have the data to show it. So I would talk to HR and then make sure I'm following board and school policy, law policy that I need to in taking the action of writing them up and what I need to follow suit with
Okay.
that.
Sasha, let's go back a little bit. Before it got to that point, how would you investigate something like this? Just
Oh, so before the investigation, well, we have the documents for the signatures. And then when I, as the principal, cross-referenced the signatures, there was a bunch that matched. I would then proceed to call parents and ask, hey, we had that survey going out. Did you turn it in? I wouldn't say that I have your signature here. I wouldn't want to make it bigger without confirming everything.
right.
So I would also check that and see what the parents say, since we did just have a parent show up with the paper that we already had.
Right.
So as I'm making those phone calls and getting that confirmed that no, I never turned it in, conversation piece, then I could show that data to the HR personnel.
Okay. Somebody else's take on it. Thank you, Sasha. Somebody else's take on it. What would your investigation look like? And then what would your action be?
Dr. Stedman, I think that you would have to, can you hear me okay? I've got my
Yes,
AirPod.
yes.
Okay. I think that, and I don't know if this answers your question necessarily, but considering that this was like a federal survey, federal paperwork, I think there would have to be at some point an even larger scale investigation, because Javier's been at that school for 18 years. And so if he was comfortable enough to forge on this survey for, excuse my language, but a petty enough reason, as he just wanted to do it quicker than someone else, what are the other myriad times in which he has felt it was okay to bend the rules or to, make things fit into his timeline or his circumstance? And that's federal funding dollars that are potentially being defrauded. And so I think that it's maybe not as simple as just investigating this one incident. There would need to be probably a fairly large scale investigation of as much, at least in the last, I would say, calendar year, 12-month period of anything he's had his hands on would need to be investigated as well.
Well, that's a good thought too. Thank you, Emma. Somebody else. See, these are things that when you're with two or three people, some of these thoughts won't come out when you're just with two or three people. So one more person, share your thoughts on this.
I think you also need to make sure you make a call to your superintendent so that, you're not getting parents calling up and complaining that, they were defrauded or wanting to sue the district, and it's not news to that person.
Right. Again, and that's true, Rebecca, but I like what Sasha said. I think your job as a principal is to remember to try to keep it from parents from knowing that it has happened as much as possible. Your job is to try to manage it and keep it under control as much as possible without it becoming too widespread. But
Okay.
those are good thoughts as well. Okay, and then it says, what additional information may you need to determine how to proceed? I think you've kind of you've addressed that. Ethical issues. You've talked about that already. Let's talk about the law. What are the legal ramifications of creating information and forging signatures? Well, let's go back to your 603 class and what you know. What are the ramifications? And Emma has alluded some to this because these are federal documents. This is a federal survey.
I mean, you're looking at being sued or even prison time technically for Javier. He's forged federal documents.
This is, the case can be brought beyond just school and as far as school, but it can be tried in the courts of law because of the documents, federal and, you know, there are cases, oh man, I forgot. I put in my paper, I didn't have my paper pulled up, but, I think it's a case, maybe Orange County or something, of someone forging documents and they got jail time for forging documents. So he definitely is looking, you know, the school can take the case outside of just being fired or let go, but actually pressing charges.
Okay, because this is for real. This is not play. This is for real. You're right.
And because of that, they will look deeper into the 18 years of him working there to find out if he's done something like that before. So he's, you know, opening up the doors to being investigated from the time he started work all the way through now. Because like, I forget who said it, this is petty. So you can imagine if something bigger has happened, he's gone the extra mile to cover it up or to make himself look good.
Dr. Revis, any thoughts up to this point?
Well, I like to always, first and foremost, look about, you know, what do you stack up to the law? And you guys have hit it. This is, you know, falsifying documents is, you know, it not only is a criminal offense, it's an offense that it's an ethical issue, of course, but it's also an offense that would lead very quickly to termination. So I think always when you have these ethical issues, I think they put in this case study, which is so cool to me. They always throw in all these other things and all these other factors about Rita and, you know, Javier, and they didn't get along. He's competitive, da, 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 da. The teachers love him. You know, it really doesn't matter who loves him, right? You got to do what's legal, and you got to take action.
And you're right, Dr. Revis, and I think that they have, you know, they've already pointed out, and I want some others to talk. I need others to speak up too. What, if anything, do you report to the superintendent that's already been alluded to? Are there grounds for suspension or dismissal of Javier? I think that you've alluded to the fact that but there's a two-sided thing, focus on this, and while you're looking at Javier, who is the culprit, who is allegedly has done something wrong, you've got to deal with that as a personnel issue. That is one side. But the other side, I want you to look at question 5. Question 5 is loaded. You're a new principal. You're going to a school where Javier was endeared. A principal, it appears that the principal that left knew some things, but just did not address things. So you're coming into a situation where, first of all, there's lots of issues because, you know, the school was overcrowded. I mean, there's just so many moving parts to this. So you deal with Javier, but you've got to deal with something else based on what's happening in here as well. And that is, you've got to look at the climate of the school. This goes back to that climate analysis that you spent a half a semester on. But do you think the staff is going to support Javier's reprimand if there is a reprimand? Go ahead, Shay.
So I think this is going to go two ways. there's gonna be people who Javier is already in their ear and they love him and they're gonna be all about him. They're gonna be on his side. He's been there a long time, so as much as he has friends, he also has some enemies. And there's gonna be people who know exactly what his character is. Those people are gonna be like, yeah, he's gonna get what he deserves. And those people who are, I guess, for the school, who are real leaders, aren't gonna, whether they know him or not, it's wrong. What's wrong is wrong. But there are gonna be people who are disgruntled because of the move. There are gonna be people who like Javier, and they're gonna be on his side, and they're gonna cause some chaos because he's gonna be let go or whatever's gonna happen to him. And then there's gonna be those other people. So, and then it says, what should you do to improve the relationship with school? As a new principal, you just gotta come in there with your foot down. Like, this is not gonna happen on my watch. And you go in and you're being to be transparent. You love Javier, but wrong is wrong, is right. And this is what's gonna happen. If you're gonna follow in Javier's footsteps or you have that kind of character, you're not gonna work for me. Because I need to have people with good character. You can't change people's character, but you can change what they do and what they don't know. But you can't change the character. So everybody's got to go.
You're hired, Shay. I would hire you in a heartbeat. But
Yep. Well, we talked about that, Dr. Stedman, in our group. Shay and I are in the same group together. But I think that in the case study, they talked about how the principal met with them too to say, hey, did you spread these rumors? And it was no. There's no more detail. I don't know how in depth it went. But I feel like at that initial meeting, the expectation should have been laid out. Hey, this is what it is. This is what central office had said is going to happen. I'm facilitating this as a leader. This is what I expect as a partnership. Do you have to like each other? No, but we have to be professional. And then lay into what that vision looks like for you as a leader, and then help foster that relationship going forward. And hopefully we didn't get to the signature part, but however we got here. And then from there, lay that same transparency that Shay was talking about to the staff and saying, this is what I expect. Here's policy. This is what's going to happen if we're not following suit. You know, we need to be a team. We need to unify. Yeah, we have school A, school B, but together we should be working together to support the kids. It's the kids in the community overall that needs to be our focus.
Ooh, Dr. Evans, do you hear that assertiveness that's coming out of these students tonight? I hear it. I hear it in you. That lets
I would
me
hire
know-
you, Sasha.
Oh, well, that lets me just know how much y'all have grown and how much you've learned. And first of all, I can see everybody. All of you have been working where you have for several years now. How many of you, it may not have been this type of situation, but there have been situations that you can you relate to maybe something that has happened in your work career that is similar, and you have seen these things unfold? Were you able to observe and see how administration handled things? Okay, just by show of hand, how many of you, when you witness a situation, you felt like your administration handled it the way it should have been handled? Okay, I see one. Okay, again, how many of you felt like that administration was afraid to do some things and brushed too much under the rug? Okay.
I want to go
Stedman,
back.
I've had a situation where I felt that because I don't know, the staff admin didn't address a problem or situation with the teacher, and then she, I would say, got demoted but lost her class, and then she was upset and was like, I don't know why this happened to me, or they took this away from me. And I felt like, well, if the admin had addressed the issue back in the school year, and she ended up leaving after the school because it was like an OCS class or something. They moved her to being a inclusion teacher, and she didn't understand why. And so she got upset and she was mad and she left, and she was upset with the admin, but really the admin kind of saved her job because downtown was going to fire her. And he was like, no, let's just move her to, this other responsibility. But I felt like they had addressed the fact she wasn't taking care of the classroom and getting it done. Then either she would have changed and had an opportunity to change, or she could say, well, you know what, that's on me. I didn't take care of my business. That's why I got let go, or they moved me. Not that, I don't understand why somebody took my spot. Kind of upset with the other teacher who got her spot. And I think that's admin's fault for not addressing that situation and caused, some issues.
And I want to go
that
back
didn't
to
have to be.
what Sasha said, which is right in line to Shay. Guys, you know, who likes confrontation? If you like confrontation, you ain't right. I'm just telling you. Okay. But you cannot allow these kinds of things to fester. They will not take care of themselves.
Mhm.
And you're right, Sasha. He should, when he had them in there talking about their little petty stuff, he should have laid it out then. His expectations for behavior in the school, the treatment of others, each other. But bottom line, I'm not going to put up with this monkey business. I don't have time for
Mhm.
this. We're here about the kids. And that needed to be done first. Not doing anything sends the wrong message, as Shay said, to the people involved and to your whole staff. You have to address issues. That is the hardest. I should not say that. That was my hardest thing when I first became an administrator. And that's because, you know, we're educators, we're caring, we're nurturers. It just didn't come naturally to me to have to confront issues. Now, but it didn't take me long to realize that when I didn't confront issues, I was part of the problem.
Right.
And so I really had to put on my big girl pants and step up and address issues. You don't have to be ugly. You
Right.
don't have to scream. You don't have to yell, but you have to be direct, and you have to follow things up. Sometimes it's more than one conversation, but you have to address the issues.
You're right. And Dr. Revis, I think, and all of you realize this, and we've had to do it even as instructors in this program. If you as a student are not where you need to be, or what, you know, we've had to have our one-on-ones. And guess what? You may not feel comfortable, you may not like it then, but then after you think about it, you say, well, you know, it's all about my good, that they really do care, and you know, they want my best interest. And you pull at your bootstraps and you get it done. You will find in administration, if you approach it in the right way, and if you recognize potential problems early on, and you go ahead and address it, first of all, most of the time, people will end up respecting you for it, and they, most of the time, will make the necessary changes that they need to make, and you can move forward. They become better people and better workers. Sometimes that doesn't work, Dr. Revis, but most of the time it does. But more than anything
Right.
else, the people that are looking at you, they see how you've handled it, and you don't have to. Guess what? Somebody else that would think about doing something probably won't do it because they saw how you handled that. So without saying a whole lot, you're doing a whole lot. So when you nip things in the bud from the very beginning, first of all, you're establishing credibility as an administrator. You are positively impacting the climate and the environment of that school that you're in charge of. And again, do not let it go unattended. Any final comments on this? Some good
Yeah.
dialogue.
I don't want to like harp on this or anything,
Go ahead, Emma.
but something that just, we got a little far away from this point, but something that I think has to be addressed is in this like modern post-COVID like teacher shortage world, that there is this additional element now on administrators when it comes to, you know, the confrontation or the nipping it in the bud. At my school, I see this a lot with my current principal. There's this desire to not upset the balance, or to not make people feel overworked or underappreciated, and to not make people feel X, Y, and Z. And so then you let so many things slide, but then once you start letting things slide, that is such a slippery slope. And now you've got teachers coming in and, you know, going to the bathroom without getting someone to attend to their class. And it's chaos. It's chaos, because when we're too scared to correct the things that are very clearly in the rules, very clearly for the safety and security of our school, of our students, the success of our school and our students, then that's such a slippery slope. And I think a lot of that right now does have to do with COVID and the teacher shortage and all these different things of teachers not wanting to stay in our buildings. And there's like an additional element now, even on top of that, not liking confrontation, not wanting to do X, Y, and Z, of really actually worrying that you're going to lose the teachers that you have when you are direct with them.
I agree with you 100%, Emma, and I guess it's good, Dr. Revis, that I'm not principal of a school today, because that that really wouldn't matter to me. First of all, that old school in me is still going to come out. And I would rather have a good substitute any day in a classroom than to have somebody that feels like that they are in control and not doing what. So, you know, I probably would be one that would have a substitute in a classroom or two or three if that's what it took. So
I
like
agree.
what you said.
I agree.
So, you know, as you're moving in, you think about those things and do not be deterred. We're living in a different day and a different society. And I understand that when Dr. Revis and I were principals, things are a lot different than when we were principals. And there's things that you have to deal with that we didn't have to deal with per se. I understand that, but I truly know who I am, and I truly don't think that I don't think I would deviate too much from what I have always been and what I've always done. Nari, you got your hand raised, Nari? Okay, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
There you
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't. Is it breaking up?
No,
'Cause I'm in the
got you.
car.
Got you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
No, just real tiny. And I'm gonna add to what Emma was saying. It's not just teachers; it's also children. My class is very structured, and what I'm finding is that most of the time, nobody wants parent problems. That's fine. But since I'm not the teacher who allows kids to do whatever they want to do in my class, then I had a parent tell me today, well, she feels like you don't like her. It's not about liking you. It's about making sure that you do what you're supposed to do. So it goes back to the thing that I'm going to correct you, even though you don't like to be redirected. I'm going to correct you because that's the right thing to do. And that's what's going to happen in the real world. But at the end of the year, these same kids who have an issue with me come back like, oh my gosh, you were my favorite teacher. I love you. Because they realized that structure, they needed it in order to be successful. But it's amazing to me the things that we are allowing parents, because they're so afraid that the parents are going to go to the board and the things that you're allowing to occur, and just handle it and support your teachers. I had a principal at one time who would not meet with the parent unless the teacher was there. And if the parent became belligerent, she would stop the meeting and they were like, I'm going to the board. She said, well, do you want me to give you the phone number? She said, all you have to do is keep your documentation. You keep your documentation, I can support you. And that for me put the policy out front, and it let me know up front that as a teacher, I need to make sure that I'm on top of my stuff, so that if I did have a problem, I would have the support of my principal. It wasn't picking and choosing. Today I'm gonna support you, tomorrow I'm not.
Right.
It was very consistent, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Nari. One of the things all of you are going to have to remember moving into administration is that because of all of the social issues out there, you're the one that's going to have to deal with them, and you've got to deal with them in a positive way. you can have an opinion. You can actually think, but you know what? They can't even know what you think and feel. You've got to lead your school without an opinion. There's all kinds of opinions out there now. Your opinion is irrelevant to leading your school. And I'll close with this. My brother-in-law and I were talking yesterday. He was cutting my grass and cleaning the yards. And my nephew, our nephew, has just started teaching for the first time this year. And I said, how is John doing? Because I have not seen John. And he said, well, I think he's doing okay. And he was talking about a 6th grade class, and it's a private school, and there were 27 students in that class. There were 17 originally, and then they added 10 more students after school started that came on because of vouchers. Well, all 10 students were hellions. I mean, they were discipline problems. Just mean as snakes or whatever. Well, the school recognized this, and they actually pulled those 10 out, and they've got them in a classroom, actually somebody working with them by themselves. But the point being is, I can remember back in 1979 when I first started teaching a class of students. I was the 3rd teacher, 6th grade teacher that they had that year. I had students that had repeated 6th grade for the 3rd time in that classroom. They were growing beards. They were about to get their license, in 6th grade, whatever. But and I knew that I had to get control of things or whatever. But my point is, what I could do then, and it was legit and get back, you can't do those same things now. You've got to figure out different ways of maintaining control, because you know what I do? I would tear their tails up. I mean, and the parents, and I got by with it. I mean, I can remember calling Burlington Industries, where most of the parents worked, and when I came to my town and worked, and I'd tell the secretary, I said, when so-and-so, and my mom and daddy were industry workers, so I knew not to pull them off the production line, but I would tell the secretary, I said, when so-and-so gets a break, I said, tell them to call me. And they would call me at school, and I would get them on the phone, and they said, put them on the phone. And it was the old rotary phone. They would tell them, I could tell them the tears would start dropping, and I knew what they were telling them. And he'd say, here, and they would give me the phone back, and they say, Miss Devon, first of all, you tear their tail up, and when they get home, they're gonna get it again. Most of you don't deal with that kind of support now. So you've got to figure out, different ways. It's a different world. It's a different day. But you know what, Nari, you're right. You've got your standards in that classroom. You have your standards in your school, and you've got to stand firm. You got, it goes back to that movie, Stand and Deliver. You've got to stand and you got to deliver. And my prayers are with all of you as you're moving into administration. It's a new day. Dr. Revis, anything else before we move on?
No, I think we've covered it. Guys, you just got to know, as Shay has said before, you got to know what's right and wrong. And you've got that, you just got a moral compass that you have to follow. And when you need to address things. And anytime it's about safety of children, there shouldn't be much of a dilemma for you to have to think about. You've got to address certain things you have to address. But anyway.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for letting me tell my war stories, because I don't get it so much, and I think they're important. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Let's talk about, before we go any further, let's talk about PSYOP. For the most part, the work that's coming in, who is it that, let me see. Stephen. Philip. Philip's not with us tonight. I don't see Philip. But Philip has finished and got a 4. So he has finished the PSYOP and got a 4. So so whatever I'm saying, it's working. So listen to me. That's all I'm gonna say. If I tell you to do something, just do it. And because it worked with him. You know, I had to guide him through the process, and it worked. So let's keep on doing the right thing. Any questions about task 1 is finished? I think most of you have. I think I've seen all of task 2. I think I've at least told you what you need to do to fix it if you need to fix it. Are there any task 3 questions at this point? Any task 3 questions? Does anybody have a question about what you got? This is your focus group. Any questions about task 3? Okay, let's again remember what's in red. Task 4. Anybody at task 4 that would have any questions? Remember, this is where you're looking at the fiscal and the human resources, and you've got to decide based on all that you're planning, who you're going to need and what you're going to need and where you can get it from. You know, how are you going to make all this happen? And then task 5, this is your graphic organizer. And Rebecca, I really liked your graphic organizer with task 5. You did a good job of taking each of those plans, and she put it in one organizer, but she had each title for each one in her organizer. And I thought that turned out real well. So I really liked what you had done with that, Rebecca. And there's been some other good work as well. And then last week, Dr. Revis shared with you task 6 and how we wanted that to look with your reflection on all 21 competencies. And again, that is, you can find that in your Blackboard shell. And the one I like both of them, but the one I really like was I really like the way this one was laid out. No, that's not it. Yeah, that's a good one. But this is the one I really liked. I really like the way this student built this, the competency, talked about her rating that she was competent, and then the reflection on it, and did an excellent job reflecting on that. But this is so easy to read and follow, Dr. Revis. I really like the way that it's laid out on here. That's my opinion. But as an evaluator, this would make me happy if I was evaluating and I could see something like this.
The only thing I would say on this one that gives me a little heartburn is
Okay.
I'm not sure that this person reflected on both her coursework and her.
I was going to say that too. Thank you for saying that. But I like the format.
Yeah.
I like the format. Now this one, let's go back to the other one again. This one did a good job on, I think this was the one, did a good job on reflect. See, in my coursework during my internship, and did that with everyone. And that's the way, if you can, this is a good model, but if you use that other model, to make sure that you do that as well, where you talk about, you know, again, in my coursework, during my internship, and make sure that you reflect on both areas for all 21 competencies. Any questions about that? Okay. Dr. Revis, you have any other suggestions at this point about?
No, I don't think so. I think I did tell you, you need to rate yourself there. And of course, you know, all of you are going to be at that standard.
Okay. Next week is considered fall break. Which we're not going to come online next week. We're going to give you a time that you don't have to put up with Dr. Revis and me next week. But that doesn't mean that you got a week not to work. You've got to work. Your work is still due. Your PSYOP is still due. And then you've got to your task, your activity 8, assignment 8 is due. And this is from the Strength-Based Leadership book. So I hope all of you have been reading on that. But again, let's just quickly go over what the expectations are for that. Now, your assignment will be turned in, not this Sunday night, but next Sunday night. This is and then when we come back the next week, Dr. Revis, I'm going to try I'll talk with you because that's the week I'm going to be gone.
Okay.
But anyway, I'll talk with you about this because I want some good discussions with this. So we'll talk about that, okay? But anyway, you're to respond narratively to every one of these areas. And again, put some thought into this. This is a good reflection on, I want you to reflect on this as a leader, as an administrator, and put a lot of thought in it because the strength-based finder, this is learning more about you as an individual. And then this activity will culminate in a Socratic seminar approach. And remember, this is the one that I said that, you're with, some of you are with 2 people in a group. If you decide that you want to join forces with another group, if there's only 2 of you to make it more, then just reach out to me and just say, Dr. Stedman, can I join this group and communicate with that group? I don't care. As long as you have the Socratic seminar, you have a great discussion about this. If there's 2 of you, if there's 3 of you, if there's 5 of you, I don't care. As long as you fully cover what needs to be covered. So you let me know if you want to join forces with somebody else, it's okay. And then you've got to have a leader for that. The leader's going to send out the link, going to set the agenda for what the meeting is going to look like. And they're going to actually facilitate the meeting. And when it's all over with, they're going to do a recording, and all of you will be sent the recording, which will be a part of the assignment that you upload. All of the of you in that group will get the same. It's just like when you did your peer reviews and other things. And then the second half of this activity includes additional resources for connecting with and identifying with your strengths as a leader. These pages include specific information for understanding the full focus of this activity, and this is located in your book. At the end of the text, you will find that packet of information that will provide you the necessary tools for completing this activity. And again, remember I told you you had to have a new book to do that. But you take the assessment, and then what I want you to do is this is what you will be responding. You're going to respond to the 9 key prompts, the quotes from the textbook. You're going to have a video link from your Socratic discussion. You're going to post your Strength Finder personal results, and then you're going to reflect on those results. Then when we come back to class, we want to talk about these things. We want to talk about what you learned from this, how did you grow as a leader in this activity? What did it say about you? How do you intend to use this as you're growing and moving into administration? Are there any questions about what you're supposed to do?
Dr. Sedman, I
And
have a
this is due
question.
on October 23rd, correct?
Yes, that's, I wanted to
Yes.
ask exact dates.
Yes,
So we're gonna discuss it in class on the 26th. The strength
Uh,
finders.
that,
Right.
that is correct. Yes.
And so on the 19th, we are not meeting as a class group on the next Wednesday.
No, and this is a good time that y'all can get together that week. And if you get your work done ahead of time, then that way you can go ahead and plan that week, you know, because you won't be interrupted with anything from us. Next week, you do not have to come online with us. Let me hold just a second. Let me check something. Let me quickly assignments. I may make a change on something. Let me check something right here. Week. Let's see what week 8 is. Okay, that's week 9. Okay. Let's do this. If you're okay with this, because I really want to be here when we do the assignment 8. How would you feel, and it would help you out, give you more time. How would you feel if assignment 9, if I switched assignment 9 with assignment 8 and gave you another week on the strength finder, and you would just do your next case study instead of and give you another week, and we would come back the first week in November and have that ready. How would y'all feel about that?
Strength finders will be due then on August 30th, Sunday, August 30th.
Not
I mean, October, not August, well, October.
October 30th. We would just switch assignment 8 around with assignment 9 and assignment 9 with assignment 8. How would you feel about that? And that would give you another week, because this is a pretty detailed assignment. How would you feel about that, or do you want to leave it like it is?
Let's switch. I'm in favor.
I'm
How
good with the
many-
switch. I just
Okay.
want to understand, there's no assignment this week that's due still though, right? Like no, like just the PSYOP task 3,
that
or is
is,
there still an assignment this week as well?
no, you actually don't have an assignment this week, do you?
No, that's where I just wanted to make sure that I was on the same track with everybody.
I think, let me pull up now. Give me another second. I don't want to tell you wrong.
Yeah, no, that's right. I double checked it too.
Okay, that is correct, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Leslie, I can see all of you. How many of you are okay with us switching around assignment 8 and assignment 9 and giving you another week on assignment 9? Assignment 8, and you would just switch them around. How many is okay with that? Okay, let's just do that then, okay? And that way, Dr. Revis, when you meet with them, they will discuss case study 3 is what they'll discuss with you. And then when I come back on that next Wednesday from New York, then we will, as all of us will discuss assignment 8. Okay? So everybody clear on that? Is it clear as mud?
So 9 will be due on the 23rd and 8 will be due on the 30th.
That's correct, yes. And then we will discuss it the first week in November. So everybody clear on that? Everybody good? Okay, any questions? Any questions about anything right now? Mary, how are things going at school? Are they still working the mess out of you?
Yes. We had senior night,
Okay,
volleyball game tonight.
you won't have a problem at all writing up your competencies in your internship hours, will you?
It should be very, very easy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Anybody else? Anything? Okay, guys, thank you so much. And if you need me, I'm a phone call away. And even next week, if you run into a situation or problem, even though we're not coming online, that doesn't mean you can't reach out to me. If I need to, I can come online with you one-on-one, and Dr. Revis can do the same thing if you need her for something.
Dr. Stedman, after you release the class, can you hang on 1 second so I can ask you a
Sure.
quick question? Thank
Sure.
you.
Sure. Any questions from anybody? Okay, guys, I will see you in a couple of weeks.
Good night.
Actually, I won't see